Cowboys don't need a superstar. They just need a game manager that won't throw bad picks. I agree. He shouldn't have also been in that position. Mike McCarthy just called really bad plays in the red zone, and he needed a guy to bail him out. But this is kind of where my problem was, too. I don't know if this team is bought into Mike McCarthy's offense, and I don't know why. I'm not going to blame that 100% on him, but CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks didn't seem interested in a lot of plays. There was a lot of plays where they seemed a little bit like they came off the route and they knew they weren't in the progression, or they knew that the coverage was going to be on them, and they seemed to kind of break it out. And especially in the red zone, it did not seem like CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks were as involved as they needed to be in those possessions. Brandon Cooks had 7 targets and 2 receptions. It's not all his fault, but also you kind of want to see these guys a little bit more bought in and a little bit more pushing. Those things, to me, that's kind of where, and it's 1-5 in the red zone. That's, for me, what the Cowboys game was it didn't ever seem like this Cowboys team was up for it. It didn't seem like they were ready to go. And look, I'll tell you, the receivers too, that's partly on Dak. He's the leader of this team. We know he's a million times better leader than Mike McCarthy is. So we know that he can go out there. Everybody says that Dak Prescott is one of the best leaders in the NFL. I don't know where the disconnect is. I don't know if they don't feel that the offense is too much running now, that they're going to Tony Pollard. Rico Dowdle had an okay game. They didn't use him a ton, but when they did, he had some good plays. Tony Pollard had an okay game. Did okay, got over 100 yards rushing. It just seemed that you need to have your star players be stars, and Dak's not the star player. Dak's a good quarterback. He's not a star, but you need him to be a star like how Kirk Cousins has Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and those guys are getting open. And then you have your third guy, KJ Osborne, who had some big plays. And look, Michael Gallup had a good game, but this is the same crap that was happening with Kellen Moore that was never good. It's not a good game plan to have your third wide receiver be your leader in receiving. It's just not a good winning game plan. Because there's a reason he's open. It's because he's usually not taking the deepest route. So he's going to get more receptions. He's going to get, you can pick and choose with him, but you're not going to have the explosive plays you're going to need to have in these games to not get yourself stuck in red zone possessions where you're not doing anything big in red zones. He may not be able to make that big catch at the goal line that a CeeDee Lamb or Brandon Cooks is supposed to make. That's the problem, is Mike McCarthy has everything set up and he's just falling back to that same thing where Dak Prescott is going to go be the quarterback he is, which is, this is the safest progression, is Michael Gallup for 10 yards. That's the safest progression. So I'm going to throw it out there. And unless you build an offense where you're really catering to Dak, which is what you need to do. And I know it sounds stupid, but if you're telling me that you're going to pay a guy, $50 million, $50 million, and you're not going to focus on making the game plan around him because he's got to play to the coach who's making $8 million. I like, it's dollars and cents. I know you're talking about different things and different markets for these guys, but the reality is Mike McCarthy needs to plan around Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is your quarterback. You throw out any play that doesn't work for Dak Prescott. Throw any play that CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks aren't going to be invested on and that you're not trying to get them the ball. Michael Gallup, it's great, but you cannot be your number one guy. If he's your number one guy, you're going to lose more games with him being your number one receiver than win. So you have to be able to build up your star players and build around your star players. One thing that Coach Sark does really well is focus on his stars. He does it too much sometimes. But I'll take that over the alternative, which is just taking what they give, just take it, and then you get in the red zone and you kick another field goal. Or you go for it on fourth and don't get it because they know what you're going to do because you're playing a predictable style. I thought he did a really good job when the defense was dominating. I thought he did a good job of just not messing it up. It's all he had to do in those first games was not mess it up. And then the defense started to struggle, and you had to carry your weight, and he couldn't carry his weight because he pulled an offense that's for Aaron Rodgers, who's a really, really good quarterback. Not Dak Prescott. And he stuck him in situations where he needed wide receivers to get massive separation without the rubs, without anything of setting things up. You just have to set your Dak up to win. And I get that's not right, but look, Justin Fields is in the same position in Chicago where we saw Justin Fields. He's made some plays, and now they're game planning for him. It's going to be harder. He's not going to be great. But look, for everybody who hates Justin Fields, you cannot tell me that Jeff Fisher ruined Vince Young, but Justin Fields is the worst quarterback. Because at a certain point, it may just be coaching, and both guys are getting a raw shake. We know Justin Fields isn't going to be MVP anytime soon. He doesn't look as good as Lamar Jackson does. But at the same point, if you give him a coach who wants to accentuate his positives as opposed to trying to make him the guy that the coach wants to have. Look at what Mike McDaniel is doing with Tua. Tua was done. Tua was so depressed and so angry. Mike McDaniel had to build him back up. From being a nervous wreck and thought his career and thought he would never be the guy. And he put up a 70 spot. They had to stop going. They had to stop trying. Because that's how good that offense is working. Because Mike McDaniel accentuates the positives. Kyle Shanahan's got Brock Purdy. You think Brock Purdy is the best quarterback? No. But Kyle Shanahan runs an offense that accentuates the positives. And you hire a coach who wants to come in and his playbook matters more than the players. And that's a dumb way to work in the NFL. Because unless you have all of the best players and you somehow drafted and stole the best player in every draft, you're not going to have that. But you can take a guy like Tua, who a couple years ago wasn't going to have his contract extended, wasn't even going to get through his rookie contract. They weren't even going to give him the 5th year. They said, no, Tua's probably done. That experiment's over. We may have to rebuild in Miami. And they put up a 70 spot. I know there's injury concerns, but Mike McDaniel is a coach who accentuates. He went out and put a game plan together. What did he do when he got there? He put together a tape and a DVD or whatever video. I don't know whatever format he used. But he used something to show Tua all his good plays. Said, no, we're going to do this. Because I went and watched all your game film, and I know what you did. We didn't lie about it like Mike McCarthy did, who he said he knew all of Dak's game film, said he watched every play and broke it down. That was a lie. Didn't do that. And now he's suffering for it because he's watching what Dak does and goes, oh, well, you made the wrong play. No, you called the wrong play. That guy's going to be there. Cooper Rush ain't your quarterback. Trey Lance ain't going to be there because he ain't going to call plays for Trey Lance either. If the defense needs help, because there's going to be teams, and you're going up against a coach. You're going up against a coach who knew you, who coached for the Eagles last year, who knows everything about you because they game planned for you hard for the last couple of years. He knows everything about the Cowboys, and he knew how to attack this defense, and he knew Trayvon Diggs was out. He said, all right, Josh Dobbs, all I got to do, and he built a game plan. They built a game plan around what Josh Dobbs could do. Dak Prescott can do a lot. He's not going to be great. I don't expect him to be an MVP. I don't expect half the quarterbacks in the league to be in an MVP conversation. I don't need that for him. But I need you to game plan around what he does, and you just won't do it. This was what I said, what I say on Friday. This is a Mike McCarthy game. Does he call a game plan that works? And no, he didn't. And that's the problem. You don't have CeeDee Lamb invested. You don't have Brandon Cooks invested in this offense, which, man, you trade for Brandon Cooks. You got CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is a beast. And he did not seem to care that much. Brandon Cooks, 2 receptions out of 7 targets. You threw the ball to Ferguson, to targets-wise, 7 targets. For Gallup, 7 targets. For CeeDee Lamb, 7 targets. For Ferguson, 7 targets for Brandon Cooks. I love it. It's balanced. It's great. That's great. Get your star players a few more targets, man. I get it. I get like you got to check down, but Michael Gallup should not have 7 if CeeDee Lamb has 7 targets. He shouldn't. Your number 3 guy shouldn't. I get progressions. I get how this works. I get it. You need to help. You need to win the battle of coaching. And you lost to a guy that we all made fun of because he sounded like an idiot at the beginning. I took the bus in and we're going to win and all that crap that he said at the beginning for the Cardinals. It worked. He's a worse speaker than you, Mike McCarthy, and he still beat you because he game planned better. So I'm not blaming this one on Dak. It's a Mike McCarthy loss. I know Dak threw the interception at the end. There was no one open. There was nothing there. It was a bad play call. It was a bad position to put him in. It should have been 3rd and 6 when you're in there. You can run the ball when everybody's backed up because you're threatening to throw the ball deep. It's hard when you get in the red zone. Hey, run some schemes. Don't just try and do the best thing. I get you had 3 offensive linemen out. So what's your game plan when you have 3 offensive linemen that are hurt and you say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and just still try and power the ball in the red zone when everything's backed up and we're going against, power packages and all that. We're just going to keep running the ball. It's not going to work. I don't know why you thought it was. Look, and I'll tell you the other side. Look, I get it. This is not the end of the season for the Cowboys. A lot of stuff is fixable. But this is that Jerry Jones thing that happens over and over again where you base it all on hope, and you hope that all your players are the best players, and you hope everything works, and you don't go that extra edge and try and bring in new people, and you didn't hire another offensive coordinator. You brought in same old guys and the same old thing, and the old boys got together, and they put together a game plan, and they're going to blame Dak Prescott for it at the end of the year. And they're going to re-sign him, and they're going to blame him. And they'll win 10 to 12 games, get knocked out in the first or second round if they play like this. I hope they play much better. I hope Mike McCarthy starts to figure it out. I hope he starts to feature CeeDee Lamb. I hope he starts to try and draw plays to get Dak Prescott in more comfort and get him a little bit better and not do the same thing that we just saw didn't work last year, putting him in positions where it's third and long in the red zone and you can't do it. Don't put him in those positions. Did you not watch last year's? I know you lied about watching the other stuff.